Inside the Magic, show number 416 for March 24th, 2013. It is Sunday, March 24th, 2013. This is show 416 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. Got another great show packed with plenty of Disney news and a whole lot more fun. And before we jump into all of it, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you can find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, anything else you want to send in, you can do so by writing to me via email at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. You should be thinking spring now that we are indeed in spring, and you can save up to 30% at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels for stays most nights April 2nd through June 14th. At a minimum 4-day Magic Your Way ticket to make it a package, and get a discount on the tickets too by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387, or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive a free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much this week to Jonathan Broomfield and Christopher Good for your donations. And of course, as always, thanks to everybody who's got a recurring donation subscription or clicking through any of the affiliate links over on the website. It supports the show, and I thank you very much for all of it. And now, let's get started with the trip around the world. An interesting assortment of news this week. We're going to start out here at Walt Disney World, where a few days ago, headed over to Epcot to upgrade my annual pass. Now, I'm not talking about renewing it. I'm not talking about moving from one level to another. No, this is something very special as part of the MyMagic Plus program that Walt Disney World is slowly rolling out. We've been talking about it for, well, it's got to be months now. This week, Walt Disney World began the next phase of MyMagic Plus, including annual pass holders in the whole process by offering a chance now through May 19th over at Epcot in the Odyssey Center, which is a former restaurant location between Test Track and the Mexico Pavilion. Pass holders could upgrade their tickets to hard plastic cards. Yes, finally, Walt Disney World annual pass holders can get hard plastic cards instead of the paper ones that were flimsy and, prone to getting wet and destroyed and all of that. So now these hard plastic cards come in one of 4 character designs for now: Mickey, Minnie, Donald, or Goofy. And more importantly than the fact that it is a hard plastic card is that it is enabled for MyMagic Plus. That is, it has an RFID chip in the card that allows access to the turnstile-free entry areas in the park. The little Mickey head-adorned posts that we've talked about before, they're now at the front of all 4 parks, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. And instead of walking through a turnstile and putting your ticket in and all of that stuff, you just simply walk up to the little Mickey head, tap your card against it, put your finger on the little scanner real quick, it lights up green, you head on in. You don't have to pass through a turnstile. It's very easy, very quick. Walt Disney World Resort hotel guests already have been using this for a few weeks now, this touch to enter system. There are still traditional turnstiles for those who don't have the RFID tickets yet, but this is the future of getting in and out of Walt Disney. Well, really getting in. On the way out, you don't have to do anything, but getting in into the Walt Disney World parks. The tickets will also, the new RFID tickets will work with the existing FastPass system, will work with the soon-to-be-released FastPass Plus system. That's not available yet, but it will be. PhotoPass Plus is also on the way, in which you'll be able to tap the card against a PhotoPass reader when you get your picture taken, rather than having them scan it. That'll be even faster. However, it's, from what I understand from asking them during the upgrade process, Touch to Pay will not be an option for annual pass holders on the cards. You're going to have to use a Magic Band for that. And Disney did have the Magic Bands on display in the Odyssey Center. Not available yet for anybody. Not available for annual pass holders. Not available for anyone to buy or to get quite yet, but they are coming soon. This is the first time I had a chance to see the Magic Bands in person and up close, and they are pretty good looking, wristbands that come in a variety of colors, bright green and blue and, orange and pink and red, et cetera, et cetera. And it seems like when guests will have that arriving to them in the mail, it'll be in this sort of Apple-like presentation, a very formal-looking box with a lot of color and a very nice design to it, and it'll be presented so that each person has their own name printed on there, corresponding with exactly which Magic Band corresponds to which person in your party, and from there you can wear the band and take part in all the extra MyMagic Plus opportunities that are coming soon. So really, this is just one phase, getting closer and closer to the full rollout of all of it. Also in the Odyssey Center were a bunch of really fun old theme park items from Epcot and beyond that are no longer in the park, some old animatronics and things like that. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see some photos of those. And if you are a Walt Disney World annual pass holder, you have between now and May 19th to go to the Odyssey at Epcot to get your pass upgraded to the new version. If you're buying a new annual pass or you're renewing your pass, you'll actually get the new version when you do that at the ticket window. It's only existing pass holders that need to go to Epcot. After May 19th, Disney will have other ways of doing this that they haven't said yet. So while I was at Epcot, I also had a chance to participate in the limited time Magic Easter egg hunt that was going on both at Epcot as well as out at Disney California Adventure. I paid the $5 or the $4.99 plus tax and got the map and the stickers of little character eggs. And from there, scattered around the World Showcase were large, colorful, character-themed eggs that were, pretty well hidden. You really had to keep an eye out for them. I mean, they were very big, more than a foot tall, it seemed like. They were kind of hidden in plain sight, but you had to keep your eyes peeled in order to be able to catch them. They were kind of high and low, and definitely more fun at night when, Under the Darkness made it a bit of an extra challenge, of course, today is the last day for this limited time magic opportunity. In the end, you went back to the port of entry store and turned it in to receive the prize, which was a little Vinylmation keychain valued at about $13, so not a bad deal there, though I don't really know what I'm going to do with this Vinylmation keychain. I have a feeling it's Disney's surplus of stuff they couldn't sell. But regardless, if you want to take part from home in this limited time magic Easter egg hunt, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net. I've kind of put a Where's Waldo style version, if you will, where I took a lot of really wide photos of the areas where the eggs are, and you can kind of hunt around in the photo and see if you can find the eggs within there. Just a little bonus fun for those of you who can't make it or couldn't make it out to Epcot or Disney California Adventure for this limited time magic. Speaking of the Disneyland Resort, a very interesting survey was sent out to select annual pass holders as well as some other Disney guests. It was a Star Wars-themed survey, and one of the questions that it was asking is, how interested would you be in visiting a Star Wars-themed land at the Disneyland Resort? There were other Star Wars-related questions, including, which trilogy is your favorite, and trying to narrow down what part of the Star Wars universe really Disney, would potentially be working into the parks in the future. I mean, it's pretty much a guarantee at this point that there will be some sort of Star Wars something else going to the parks in the future. We just don't know what, but they are absolutely considering the concept of a Star Wars-themed land at the Disneyland Resort specifically. So, very interesting. Of course, these surveys don't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't mean there is definitely a Star Wars land coming, but chances are there's a nice concept floating around the halls of Walt Disney Imagineering, and they're just trying to decide on the best idea before they make any movements in that direction. I'm certainly excited. I think more Star Wars in the parks is a very good thing, more so than even Marvel, in my opinion, although I'm sure Marvel fans would disagree. Also at Disneyland on Main Street, USA, there's some big changes coming up involving Starbucks. The Market House is going to be closing next month, April, and temporarily, because that's going to be the future home of a Starbucks location. It's actually going to expand into the next door, Disneyana store. Disneyana is going to get bumped down to the Bank of Main Street building, which is in the front of the park near Town Square, where the Disney Gallery is going to be. Don't worry, the Disney Gallery is not going anywhere. The two are going to be combined, which kind of makes sense to me. It seems like the art and collectibles of the Disneyana store and the artwork that's shown off in the rotating galleries of the Disney Gallery go very well hand in hand together. So those are all going to become one location, and then the Market House is going to reopen in the fall as a new Starbucks coffee location. Back out here to Florida now, turning away from Disney. The biggest announcement of the week was over at LEGOLAND Florida, where they announced a major park expansion to open this summer, July 2013. It's going to be the World of Chima. It's based on their new Lego product line, Legends of Chima, also a TV series. They're really banking on this Chima thing. It's pretty new. So for them to be announcing a park expansion with rides and characters and attractions, etc., and putting that much money into something that is not, it's not a tried and true thing quite yet, is an interesting move. The biggest portion of this World of Chima is going to be a new interactive water ride called the Quest for Chi. It's going to be family friendly, of course, like everything at Legoland is. You'll enter into a stone and moss-covered entrance into the Lion Temple. Inside will be a 45-foot-tall floating Mount Kavora, which is basically a floating mountain with water dripping on it overhead. And the goal will be to recover the stolen Chi orbs while floating through on a special ride vehicle that's going to be armed with water cannons. It's going to be an interactive ride. You'll be shooting all over the place and probably getting wet in the process. Looks like basically everything else there where, it's a Lego kit giant size and you'll be able to ride it in. It looks really fun. I can't wait to get on that in just a few months from now. July 2013, July of this year is when it's going to be opening. In addition to that, they're also building something called the Speedors Arena. That's where you'll be able to build Lego Speedors and participate in group challenges there. It's kind of an interactive thing. There's also going to be a Lego Chima 4D movie experience. They're putting that into Legoland in California as well. And characters will be available for meeting and greeting, including Laval the Lion Prince, who was there for the announcement of all of this. And yeah, there are definitely some comparisons to be drawn to Thundercats amongst this whole Chima thing, although it is not really officially anything to do with that. Apparently, according to LEGO, the Legends of Chima is the highest tested new LEGO theme in the last 12 years, more so than the recent Ninjago or anything else of the sort, and they're going to create about 50 jobs when they add all of this to Legoland Florida, so sounds like a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing it this summer. Last week I mentioned in the world of collectibles a lot of commotion that was going on surrounding the current company, the new company who's taken over the Walt Disney Classics Collection, WDCC line. Precious Moments is the company, and some artwork had leaked online showing actually photos of prototypes of potential new WDCC products, very much in the Precious Moments style, not kind of the traditional on-model style. Well, Precious Moments has responded further this week saying, ignore that. It's on hold. It's release date's on hold. It's not going to happen. That concept wasn't supposed to get out. In fact, apparently what they were considering was doing 3 separate lines: a low-price gift line, a masterpiece line of larger porcelain figures, and then a sort of traditional WDCC line, as we've seen for many years now from the UNESCO company. Well, all of that is possibly not happening anymore. It's some combination in there. They realize fans sort of the outlash that they were getting, the backlash rather, and so any of that is not happening. We'll still wait and see what's going to become of the WDCC line under Precious Moments in the future. Now let's turn to the world of movies, where remake is certainly a popular word in Hollywood lately, and the latest is pointing to Disney planning to remake the 1977 film Pete's Dragon. Apparently there's a screenplay in the works for a new version of that movie. It's not going to be a musical this time around, and it's not clear as to how Elliot the Dragon will be worked in, whether he's going to be hand-drawn traditional animation like he was years ago, or a CG version of the dragon, which is more likely what's going to happen, knowing today in Hollywood. But why is Disney remaking Pete's Dragon? Well, who knows? Why does any film ever get remade? Watching Pete's Dragon recently when it came out on Blu-ray definitely has not withstood the test of time very well. It is a long movie that is really honestly not that good. I mean, it has its moments, and if it was about half as long, it would be much better. So I kind of welcome a remake. It's a great concept. I love Elliot the Dragon as a character, but the original film itself it lags. So it'd be interesting to see where that project leads. Oz the Great and Powerful, of course, is still in theaters, and if you want to see a little bit of a snippet of a really fun bit of this film, you can head on over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InsideTheMagic, where Walt Disney Studios has provided us with the impressive full opening title sequence to the film. It's sort of paper models, all black and white, and a smaller aspect ratio as it's presented in the theaters, and has a lot of little hidden character tie-ins that you may not have picked up on the first time you saw it, or if you haven't seen it yet, you should go watch it. So head on over to our website or YouTube channel to check that out. And final bit of news this week is television news. There's an upcoming USA Network TV show called The Moment that is now casting. It's going to be hosted by former NFL quarterback Kurt Warner. The idea behind this show is that they're seeking folks who had a dream to have follow a certain career path, and for whatever reason they had a hardship in their life, illness, injury, financial burden, a death, something like that, and they were unable to fulfill that dream, though they still hold that and wish that they could have done it. Well, this show, The Moment, is basically trying to help a few folks achieve that dream. And the reason I mention it here is because one of the episodes is going to focus on the job of theme park designer. They're going to be helping one person land a dream job in that industry. Basically, they're casting now. They're going to pick somebody, and that person's going to work directly with a mentor from a notable theme park design company for 10 days. Of course, you have to have some sort of talent to begin with. You have to belong in that industry. And then after the 10 days of working hand in hand with a mentor, you're actually going to interview for a job at the reputable theme park company, which they have not said which company that will be, only promising that it will be a big name company. So if you're interested, or if you want to nominate somebody, they're asking that you email castingthemoment@gmail.com with your name, the name of the person you're nominating, or if it's you, phone number, email address, city, state, the dream job that you want, which is theme park designer in this case, and then tell your story. Why were you unable to get that job? What has happened in your life that prevented you from doing that, and why do you want it? And of course, attach a picture of yourself or the person that you're nominating as well. It'd be awesome if somebody out there from the Inside the Magic audience ends up on this show. So good luck to anybody who gives it a shot. I've posted all those details over on the website as well, so you can catch the email address again there. And that'll do it for news from around the world this week. This week's tip comes in from Jennifer, who writes, though many people today purchase Disney gift cards, Disney does still sell Disney dollars, which are printed paper bills of denominations of $5 and $1 and $10. In some locations, they're signed by the treasurer, Scrooge McDuck, and can be used at most locations at Disneyland, Walt Disney World, and Disney stores in the U.S. and Puerto Rico. The dollars are sold at most guest services in the parks and resorts and are used just like cash. Change is given in U.S. currency if applicable. And the designs are very neat, and this year they feature heroes and villains. They're certainly collectible if you just want to hang on to it. They're an inexpensive souvenir, and you might not want to part with them once you purchase them. Jennifer, that's a great tip. It is very easy to forget about the concept of Disney dollars, because you're right, the gift cards are becoming more and more common, but the Disney dollars are a lot of fun, and yeah, once you get a hold of it, it is very tempting to just keep it instead of actually spending it as it is intended. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@InsideTheMagic.net.
Inside the Magic proudly presents a restaurant review. We are guests, we are guests, we are guests.
Well, it's not technically a restaurant review, but I am going to be reviewing some food here on this week's show. Going to be talking about what I've been hinting at for the last couple of weeks. Finally had a chance to get back over to Epcot this week to check out more of the food from the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. Now, this year, the Flower and Garden Festival looking a whole lot more like the Epcot Food and Wine Festival that everybody looks forward to every year, because they've added booths around the World Showcase. Not as many as the Food and Wine Festival. There's about half as many, probably, and the portions seem a little bit larger. Prices are a little bit more, maybe $1 or $2 more for some of them, although still very reasonable per small dish. And you basically go around the World Showcase, read the menus, pick what sounds good to you, pay, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, depending on what it is and how big the dish is, and just kind of eat your way around and enjoy a variety of foods. And it's not really focused so much on foods from around the world specifically. They're not tied in with specific countries like they are with the Food and Wine Festival, more in just a variety of little marketplaces, if you will. I've enjoyed it very much, been around twice now, tried just about everything that I wanted to across those two trips, and I'm not going to run through absolutely everything that I ate here, because we'd be talking about food for the next hour, because there's so many good things, a few not so good, but I'm really going to focus on the best of the best here, but also put in a note about the one really, really bad thing that I had that I will say don't try that at all. So let's kind of jump right into it as I give you my thoughts on what I think are the best of the Flower and Garden Festival, which runs for another few weeks over at Epcot, so you're going to have plenty of time to head out there and check it out if you're going to be around. So starting with the cottage, one of my absolute favorite dishes from all of the Flower and Garden Festival is the baked goat's brie with kumquat chutney. It's $4.50, and it's essentially a little flaky pastry that's packed with some warm, gooey brie cheese inside and topped with this wonderfully tangy and sweet kumquat chutney on top. Really delicious. Better the first time I had it than the second time. The first time it was fresh, it was a drippy cheese inside, it was warm, and it was wonderful. The second time it seemed like it had been sitting around for a little while, so it wasn't quite as good. Still very enjoyable, just not quite as good. It's kind of a tip for all of these. Look for the freshest food. I don't know how you can really gauge that. Maybe go during prime hours, not late at night, go during lunchtime, during dinner time, in order to really get the freshest food coming out of the kitchen. Maybe you could even ask for some of the fresher ones instead of the ones that are sitting under the heat lamp. Definitely, I would recommend that one, especially if you're a fan of cheese, as I most definitely am. Moving on from there to the France area at l'Orangerie, or however you pronounce that. This is where I'm going to say the one out of this whole list, absolutely avoid. And I've seen many others say this same thing. This is just a really bad dessert called Verrine Charlotte au peaches. Basically, it's a little peach dessert, and there are different layers to it, and some of it is good. The peaches are pretty good. The little cream on top is pretty good, but there's this really awful bitter layer of some kind of rosemary sauce in the middle that has this really terrible lingering aftertaste. It is something you'll take one bite of and just throw it straight in the trash, and for $5 that's not a good thing. And then you'll need to drink a whole lot afterwards in order to get rid of that taste in your mouth. So that one I say avoid. Moving on to more pleasant things over at the Taste of Marrakesh. There's a couple of really good options here. This is in the Morocco area of the park. Harissa and lemon confit chicken drumettes with chermoula and cucumber salad for $5. Really enjoyable dish here. You get a pretty good size, it says drumette, but it's basically a chicken leg. Varying in size. Sometimes it seems like a drumette, other times it seems like a full-on chicken leg, and it's fried, but not like big batter, crispy fried. It's gently fried, has a really nice spice sort of rub on the outside, and definitely that lemon flavor goes all the way through. The cucumber salad that comes with it is nice and crisp and cool and refreshing, quite enjoyable. Also at that same location, a spiced lamb kebab with vegetable couscous salad, really enjoyable there. The lamb was a little bit overcooked when I got it. Has a nice sort of green sort of salsa-ish herb salsa on top, but it's I'm a big fan of lamb to begin with, and I'm sure that helped here. If it had just been cooked a little bit less, it would have been even better. But the couscous salad was delicious, very sweet, a nice big portion, and for $5, if you were to get both of those, $10, that's pretty much a whole meal right there. Moving on to the Japan area, there's a booth called Hanami, and the star of that one is definitely the frushi, which is fruit sushi. There's no fish involved here. It is just fruit, but it's shaped to look like sushi. Very fun, very playful, and certainly very enjoyable. Comes a little bit of whipped cream and a sauce next to it. $4.50, a little pricey for getting just 2 small pieces of this, but it is quite enjoyable and definitely healthy and refreshing as well. Over at the Smokehouse in the American area, there's a smoked beef brisket with collard greens and jalapeno cornbread that I loved. $6.75 is a lot. It's almost a meal unto itself, though. Quite enjoyable. Make sure you get a plate that doesn't have a lot of fat in it, though. I've heard that some people have gotten it with way too much fat in this dish. Also in that same location, there's a Rocky Road brownie mousse for $3, which is essentially a brownie square, but it's not your traditional brownie where it's really thick and heavy and dense. It's got a very light mousse on top of the brownie, and then of course the Rocky Road adds nuts and marshmallows, and it's just a nice little dessert for well, it's not even that little. It's a nice, good-sized dessert for $3. Over at the Primavera Kitchen, which is in the Italy area of the park, there's a lasagna Primavera for $6, which is one of the more expensive ones, but it's huge. This lasagna is probably 5 inches by 5 inches, maybe 4 by 4, and it is just packed with veggies and veggies and veggies. It is a vegetable lasagna, but it has a very savory flavor. It's surprisingly savory and quite enjoyable. I liked that one very much. Over in the Germany area at the Bauernmarkt, there's a German meatloaf sandwich with a sweet mustard and fried shallots, and the shallots are just wonderfully crispy and lovely. And there's a nice tangy sweet mustard that goes with it, and the meatloaf is more of a sausage tasting rather than sort of a beef meatloaf, so quite enjoyable as well. This week I also had the potato pancakes there with a house-made applesauce, and boy is that applesauce good. For $2.75, this is a good deal. The potato pancake is like a really thin, crispy, almost like a hash brown, but the sweetness in the applesauce and the crispy sort of savoriness of the potato really work very, very well together. Over at the Lotus House, which is in the Japan area, there is a peach oolong bubble tea, which is $4.75. It's a little expensive for a drink. But it's a very creamy, sort of sticking in your mouth kind of drink. You're either going to love this or you're going to hate it. It's sort of a unique, interesting flavor. And of course, it's got the little boba balls in it, which unfortunately don't give you a straw big enough to suck those up. So you kind of have to spoon them out or deal with it that way. I don't know. It's kind of clumsy there, but I really enjoyed that drink. Also from that same location is a spring pancake with grilled chicken and green apple for $4.50, and it's almost like a little Chinese taco. The pancake wraps a whole bunch of veggies and some chicken inside. A lot of different textures. There's some squishiness and some crunchiness and everything in between, and they sprinkle a little bit of a sriracha on there for some spice as well. Not too much spice, just a tiny hint of it, and overall a nice twist on sort of your traditional taco, but with with Chinese flavors as well. Over in the Mexico area, there is Jardín de Fiestas is the name of the location. There's the conga fruit drink there for $3.75, which is something that Disney has had in the past. Used to be part of their regular menu. Now it just seems to be for festivals only, and definitely a really yummy fruit mixture of a drink there. There's also a taco de carnitas, which is a pulled pork taco. Doesn't have any kind of salsa or sour cream or anything like that on top, but the pork itself is juicy enough to really sustain it, and it's topped with some little crunchy pork rinds and some crunchy green onions that are fresh as anything, all wrapped in a tortilla, and it is a wonderful, wonderful taco. Not your standard sort of flavor. Not particularly heavy, just really juicy and quite enjoyable. In the Florida Fresh booth, there's a watermelon salad that is crisp and refreshing with some big, pretty good sized watermelon cubes in there. Very fresh watermelon topped with some yummy feta cheese and some balsamic, as well as some arugula, and I believe there were some peppers in there as well. Pretty good portion size for $3.50. And then, of course, finally, there's the Pineapple Promenade, which has the Dole Whip with Siesta Key spiced rum for $6.25. Of course, it's alcoholic. It's an interesting spin on the Dole Whip, has spiced rum in it, which I'm not a big drinker. I don't drink rum much. It definitely had a kick toward the end. The combination of the Dole Whip with the rum was something new, something different. I enjoyed it at first and then got tired of it about halfway through. So I did not really jump at the opportunity to get it again, but I have a feeling those who drink a lot of rum would really, really enjoy this. I actually preferred the pineapple upside down cake, which was a wonderfully moist little round sort of dome of cake. Came with a kind of a vanilla cream with some toasted coconut on the side and a cherry and actual pineapple piece on top. All that for $2.75. A really good deal there. The pineapple could have been a little bit fresher, but everything else about that was wonderful. And that is my little roundup of the Flower and Garden Festival food this year. Of course, there is much, much more being served there, both good and bad and everything in between. Head on over to InsideTheMagic.net, search for Flower and Garden. There you'll find all photos of all the food that my wife and I tried. Some of the drinks as well, and further reviews and some merchandise. A lot of fun. I'm really glad that Disney decided to add food to the Flower and Garden Festival this year. Really gave it a whole new dimension and made me not sit here craving that Food and Wine Festival so much. I hope this is something that will be here to stay in the future at the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival. Now going on, of course, at Epcot. Now I'm going to bring on some really special guests here to the show here in just a minute. But before I do that, let me put in a quick word about Capturing Magic. This is a pair of iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation. Whether you're at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It really is the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss a magical moment. And right now, for a limited time, the Capturing Magic iPhone apps are on sale for more than 50% off each. Again, it is for a limited time, so you don't want to wait to find these apps. Simply go to the iTunes store and search for Capturing Magic. Joining me on Inside the Magic this week are artists James Silvani and Amy Mebberson, along with Julio Rodriguez from Acme Archives, to discuss some great new Disney artwork that's coming out pretty soon. Let's just jump right into it. James, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's coming out?
Well, first thing we have coming out, we're dragging the Disney afternoon back kicking and screaming into the 2000s. We are going to have a Darkwing Duck silkscreen print available this March the 26th, is it?
Yeah, I believe that is Tuesday, the 26th.
Yeah, Tuesday, March 26th. It's been floating around online. It's a takeoff on the famous Shepard Fairey Obama poster, but we're featuring Darkwing Duck. And the title of this one is Dangerous.
And I've seen the artwork. It looks fantastic. I'm a big fan of the Disney Afternoon, a big fan of Darkwing Duck in particular. What has prompted sort of this resurgence into the Disney Afternoon? I mean, did you all grow up with it like I did watching it, or is it just, fun characters?
I can't say I grew up with it, but it was definitely part of my post-college years. I was always a big Scrooge fan from the Carl Barks books, and when they came out with a TV show of it, I was instantly hooked. And Darkwing was a big part of that as well. And luckily, a few years ago through Boom Studios, we were able to do a Darkwing Duck comic book, and it was one of Boom's bestsellers actually. So we knew at that point that there was definitely a market for the Disney Afternoon material. And since then, there's been new merchandise in the parks, and we hope this will be a great new jumping on point to see what the interest for the Disney Afternoon is in the future. Why not? Well, let's start it with some fine art stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Amy, you were involved with the comics that Disney formerly were doing with Boom as well, right?
Yeah. I started off doing with Monsters Inc. and from there I branched off into mostly doing Muppet comics, and again that's where James started as well. But I pretty much did a bit of everything as far as Disney's Boom Comics went. I did I did some work with James on Darkwing Duck, and we did some DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, and it's and as someone who loves Disney as much as I do, I will draw anything Disney anyone asks me to do. So It was a great fun time to.
Yeah, I was browsing through your. Sure, I was browsing through your website. I saw that you were responsible for that great Comic-Con exclusive Gizmo Duck cover for DuckTales.
Yes, that was. I think that was one of my. I think it was my first convention variant. No, I did a Muppet one for Emerald City Comic Con that year as well. But yes, they asked for. I don't think I can't remember who gave me the idea, but someone said, "Yeah, can we have the San Diego? The convention center was by far the most difficult part of it. I mean, during the
right. Yeah, very odd looking building, but Gizmo Duck, one of my favorites, and really underused over the years. So I was really I definitely snatched that one up as soon as I saw it.
No, excellent. Yeah. So, but again, Disney were. I remember, even though we can love drawing these characters, I still remember. Yeah, that beak's still not quite right. You need to fix that. And
right.
So it's there is. As I keep saying online, I think Disney aren't really as aware of how popular Disney Afternoon is than they probably should. But occasionally you see it, just little glimpses in the parks or in a T-shirt or something, which always sells really, really well. So that's what we're doing with Dangerous, and Acme Archives is trying to show Disney, look, people love Disney Afternoon. Let's do more.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely true. Recently, out here at Walt Disney World, Disney had a Long Lost Friends Week, as they put it, where they brought out some characters, and Scrooge McDuck was out there, and everybody was like, well, where's Darkwing Duck? Where's Launchpad? Everybody wants these characters to be out there, and they're very, very rare to find. Julio, tell me about sort of how all of this is coming with Acme. I know you've done, other Disney-related works over the years, and you're doing even Star Wars and Muppets.
Yeah, actually, we're the fine art licensee for, aside from Disney and Lucasfilm, we also do the fine art for other companies like 20th Century Fox, and we're now collaborating with Saban. But the relationship with trying to get Darkwing Duck off the ground here actually started from the first time I met James and Amy. I was an intern at Boom Studios. And that's how we kind of established our relationship, and we were all big fans of the Disney Afternoon. And this release of Dangerous is kind of a big deal for us, because we want to make sure that fan base is there. We know it's there, but we want to make sure that it connects with the fine art collectors that we deal with on a daily basis.
Sure.
And I think James and Amy kind of, putting them there. They're already the artists that have already, they're so well known online and at conventions for their Disney Afternoon related artwork that it was a no-brainer to bring them on board.
Right. Well, so tell me specifically about this piece. It's coming out very soon, and how do you get it? Where it seems like it's a pretty limited release.
Yeah, we've actually the piece will be released on the website. I believe the edition is out of 250 for the regular tribute, which I believe is it's kind of a blue. Was that light blue, James, or would you consider it blue? Or am I getting too specific with the color?
Color red, light blue.
Yeah, let's just go with blue. So the blue and red one, the regular edition, that's going to be out of 250, and then we have a variant that'll be a different color variation will be out of 50, and both of them will be available Tuesday. We'll announce the time a little bit before release. I'll announce it on Twitter, but it will be available on darkinkart.com.
So they're the ones who are actually doing the printing for you?
No. Dark Ink. I should have been more specific. Sorry about that, guys. Dark Ink is actually a subdivision. It's for our silk screens.
Oh, okay.
But it's an Acme. It's a sister company to Acme Archives.
Okay, great. So anybody who's wanting to get a hold of this Dangerous print, you're going to have to basically stalk Twitter and Facebook come Tuesday and just wait and hop online as soon as it becomes available.
Basically. But I'll be getting maybe a couple of hours before the release time. I'll be more than glad to just announce it instead of just dropping it on everybody. I think everybody kind of getting ready for it would be a better idea than just, informing everybody.
Yeah, James and I will of course post release times on our Tumblr feeds, where we have a lot of people following us there too. So the demand is like people want to see Darkwing, and it's the reaction so far that this is coming has been excellent.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your experiences working on those Boom Disney comics, which unfortunately aren't around anymore. We talked to writer Ian Brill months and months ago when the Darkwing comics had been first announced, and then of course there was DuckTales and Rescue Rangers. what was the atmosphere like while you were working on those, and ultimately when, I guess Disney bought Marvel and decided to move on away from Boom, what happened there to kind of fizzle it all out?
James, do you want to take that one?
Well, there's many different stories about it online, and I know the general consensus seems to be that it was big bad Disney coming in and swooping up and taking the license back, but it really was not that
at all
nefarious. It was just a matter of the license ran out.
Okay.
And it was nothing that's been reported in the press about Disney coming in and swooping in and putting the little guy out on the street. It was just a matter of the license ran out, and it was a mutual decision on both ends.
Not to renew it. Yeah.
Okay, well, as simple as that. So prior to that, when you were working on these comics, where did your artwork sort of inspiration come from? It seemed like it was really true to the old Disney afternoon style, not so much like a stylized version. How much input did you have versus Disney coming in saying, no, it has to be this way?
Well, the best thing about working on Darkwing Duck, especially at that time when there was absolutely no interest in the Disney afternoon properties whatsoever, our editor, Aaron Sparrow, actually went to Disney and he said, "Hey, we'd really like to do a Darkwing Duck comic book. I'm a huge fan. We've got the story in place for everything to go." And Disney was like, "Yeah, go knock yourself out. We're not doing anything with it at the time." And,
right.
And of course, things have to be submitted to make sure they're not disparaging the brand in any sort of way. But they pretty much gave us, carte blanche to do what we wanted to do with the book. And
I mean, as opposed to the Pixar comics, which I was working on, where of course Pixar are a very big, very high-profile brand for them, especially the big ones like Toy Story. They were very fussy about those, and likewise the Muppets. This was before the whole Muppet movie came out and Muppet Studios was founded. So the Muppet approval team, who were looking at our comics, were just this little group of people, and so we got. It was a fun time.
Yeah, it seemed like the Muppets definitely had its own style more so than the other ones. It didn't necessarily look like any other version of the Muppets that we had seen over time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had Roger Langridge there. I mean, and he'd already worked on Muppet comics for Disney, for Disney Adventures magazine. So, I mean, Roger is Roger. So he draws the comics his way, and it was a great fit for the Muppets. And the comic was Harvey and Eisner nominated and everything. And so it was, yes, but at the same time, my own Muppet comics are a little bit more closer to how the puppets look, so Disney were happy with them as well. So they were happy with all different styles, which was great. And and James was just the perfect fit for Darkwing Duck.
Certainly, and of the group, I mean, I'm a big fan of all of that. DuckTales is big for me. I mean, I've been a fan of it for years and years, and of course, coming off of the original works, moving from Carl Barks into Don Rosa, was there a lot of sort of legacy there to live up to?
I tell you, I was a nervous little Nelly when I first started my run on Darkwing, because I was the Carl Barks comics were my first comics, and I still have my old stacks of Dell and Gold Key comics as far as looking back at that. And that was a big deal for me, and I think the first time that somebody gave me the compliment of actually calling me a duck artist, I was like, wow, I've made it. So yes, it was very daunting knowing the legacy of that, but I'm very proud to be even thought of in the same breath as that.
Okay, great. Now you all appear at many conventions. You're going to be, I think you mentioned a couple coming up, and also the D23 Expo, of course, the one that most of the Disney fans will be interested. Can you tell me about what you do at the conventions? I know you take a lot of commissions.
Yeah, well, I mean, James and I have been tabling at the conventions for the last few years now, and basically what's cool about that is that we're still basically one of the only teams of artists who are specialized in Disney and licensed properties. I mean, we're surrounded by all these other great colleagues of ours who do Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and Image and all those ones, and all the indie guys, and here's these two schmoes in the middle who'll draw ponies and Disney and DreamWorks and anything you ask us to do, really. We're the Swiss Army artists. So yeah, we do commission sketches. We sell sketchbooks. We used to do occasional prints now and again, but since we now have an association with Acme, which is awesome, so we can work with them to promote and sell a much higher quality product, which is great. And so that's basically what we still do.
And as far as the D23 Expo, we're very fortunate in the fact that we're kind of the only game in town as far as Disney comic artists. So we're as opposed to a usual convention we're at in an artist alley surrounded by hundreds of other artists. We're kind of the only game in town there, and luckily it's such a great crowd that's at D23. I mean, that was by far my best convention experience I've had, and definitely looking forward to this year's.
Yeah, I mean the Disney fan community, whether you're a parks or you're just a family who loves their Disney movies, they're the sweetest, they're the best fans around. They're always just so excited to see stuff that's new, and they're so imaginative. They give us really fun ideas for sketches and things, and they're lovely people.
Too. We're total fans of this stuff as well, so it's fun.
You end up kind of just nerding out the entire time you're there, and then other people are nerding out at the stuff you have, and then it's just like this huge. We sort of feel like the old Warner Brothers crew who just made cartoons that they found funny. We draw the stuff that we love, that makes us laugh, that we want to see, and it just really resonates with fans in general. So again, this is why our new partnership with Acme is so awesome, because we can get to flesh out some more of these ideas and present them officially so that more people can see them and get them and stuff like that.
It's so nice to do a piece of artwork and have it not immediately followed by a cease and desist.
Yeah, that is good that you're able to now do it officially. And so those who are attending the D23 Expo, where are they going to find you? Are you going to be at an Acme booth at the show floor?
Part of the time. Otherwise, we actually will have a table set up in the collector's forum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
they will be making an appearance. They will be making an appearance at the Acme booth.
We're hoping to probably maybe have some exclusives ready. We're working on that with Acme now. But there'll be us, and we'll also be joined by another colleague of ours, Alan Gladfelter, who drew Cars comics for Boom. So he's your Cars man. So and he loves drawing sketches and things as well. So it's a great show, and we're really looking forward to it.
Pretty much us.
Yeah.
Excellent. So other than
Ducks, princesses, and cars.
Other than the expo, what other upcoming conventions will you be appearing at?
Oh, do you guys want me to announce it first, or do you guys want to go ahead?
You go, Julio.
Well, you guys have WonderCon coming up, but I'll let James and Amy do you guys want to discuss that first, and then I'll bring up what's coming out after?
Yeah, sure. We got WonderCon in Anaheim the last weekend of March. 2 weeks after
3 weeks after that. Yeah.
3 weeks after that, we have the C2E2 convention in Chicago, and after that is which is a lot of fun if you're in the Chicago area. Great convention to check out. After that is, of course, Comic-Con in San Diego, where we'll be exhibiting instead of Artist Alley this year, and then after that, D23. Mm-hmm. Our favorite.
Yeah, and then I'll be jumping in. James and Amy will be a little bit busy in the month of May. We'll be announcing Amy's. I could let everybody know now that Amy will be releasing her first Star Wars-related piece that will be out on May the 4th.
Good date.
Saturday, and it's a confirmed date. Amy, do you want to elaborate on that, or we'll have an event. We're going to work on an event. Should be announced soon. We're still working out the details, but Amy's
can we talk about location?
At the moment, we cannot, sadly,
but stay tuned.
We could talk about the piece. We can talk about the piece.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, anybody who knows my work online will probably aware of a little series I do purely for fun called Pocket Princesses, and that's just me just having fun with Disney princesses. I do it purely for chuckles. So what I decided to do was take this kind of cutesy art style that I do this in, and I applied it to this rather sweet Princess Leia lineup. So instead of Pocket Princesses, we have a little Leia. So it's just a sweet little, it's just a nice timeline of Leia in various in her key moments throughout the original trilogy, and that will be available in 2 color variants. So there'll be one, and like Dangerous, there'll be a general print one, and then there'll be a limited edition color variant. And Julio will announce later when and where those will be available. But what was it? May the 4th. So it's Star Wars Day, coming out Star Wars Day, appropriately enough. So
excellent. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. All the conventions. I mean, I'll definitely be at San Diego Comic-Con, so I'll have to come find you. I've been doing that for a few years now, and always a crazy, insane amount of fun there. And so for anyone who wants to go, browse around your portfolios or browse around what Acme has, go ahead and rattle off all your websites, Twitter, whatever you want to plug.
Well, most of my work can be seen on my Tumblr site, which is Silvani Art, and that's my Twitter handle as well, and as well as Facebook.
And my Tumblr. I used to be I was on DeviantArt for a long time, but a couple of years ago, I transitioned over to Tumblr, where again, like James, that's where I post all my new stuff, including Pocket Princesses. So that's amymebberson.tumblr.com, and my Twitter tag is. So that's where all the good stuff is. So come and have a browse.
Yeah, and whenever it comes to Disney fine art and Star Wars fine art, you can always go to acmearchivesdirect.com, and then we are on Twitter, Facebook, I think Instagram, and Pinterest under /Acme Archives.
All those great social media platforms, and then of course the Dangerous print that's going to be coming out very soon. That once again, that's at darkinkart.com. And so James, Amy, and Julio, thanks for chatting. Looking forward to seeing all the great artwork this new partnership comes out with in the future.
Thank you for having us again. I had a great time.
And thanks again to James, Amy, and Julio for joining me here on the show. Really great to hear about all kinds of fun new artwork that will be coming out. And those of you who are Star Wars fans can also look forward to James Silvani being out here on May 24th through the 26th at Star Wars Weekends over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And anyone who was a fan like I certainly am and was of those Boom comics, the DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Rescue Rangers. I'm told that more comics in some form, more Disney comics, will be on the way, though no more specifics were added quite yet. So really looking forward to all of that. Now, before we wrap up the show with some listener feedback, I want to tell you about Lanyard Lab. This is the place you want to go to if you need custom lanyards, hang around your neck for use at conventions, for promotional use, for even school, churches, any organizations where you need to wear a name tag or an ID card around your neck. Head to lanyardlab.com and click where it says Get a Quote. You can fill out our quote request form, submit all your details to us, including the colors that you want, attach any logos, add any text, all the details for customizing your own lanyard. Submit that to us. We'll email you back with a price quote along with a proof showing you what the lanyards will look like. All of that's free to try. There's no obligation to purchase at all. And from there, if you like what you see, you can just buy it online. Simple as that. So check it out over at lanyardlab.com. That's LANYARDLAB.com.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Jump right into the emails this week. First up from Brian, who writes, I finally got around to seeing the Oz the Great and Powerful and thought I'd give my quick thoughts on the movie. First off, I'm a huge fan of the original Wizard of Oz and appreciated all the subtle references throughout the film. I wonder if anyone else got the clue that Michelle Williams in the Kansas scene is supposed to be Dorothy's mother. She says, I'm marrying John Gale, which is Dorothy's last name. Although Great and Powerful has been getting mediocre reviews, I thought the film was very enjoyable and a creative adaptation as a prequel sequel. However, I would have had a few more obvious tie-ins to the original Wizard of Oz. For example, I would have had Evanora wearing the ruby slippers, since she's supposed to be the one that the house is supposed to fall on in the original. In fact, I would have had the house falling right through the fancy "The End" lettering and the sky and cut it off right there. Brian, interesting thoughts there. Certainly there are many references to that original film without being too obvious about it. The Gale one, you certainly picked up on that. As far as the ruby slippers, though, they weren't legally allowed to use them, unfortunately. That is an invention of that original film. It wasn't part of the original Oz books, and the copyright goes to the owners of that film, so they actually couldn't. They had to be real careful, treading very lightly around how closely they tied in the new film to the old one without sort of stepping on those copyright boundaries. Next up, an email from Jeremy, who writes, last year, Star Wars Episode 1 was released in 3D. There were plans to release all 6 films in the following years. Has this changed post-purchase by Disney? Jeremy, I believe it has. They're really putting all their attention and efforts into Episode 7 at this point, a new movie. They seem to be stopping production of just about everything else Star Wars. They've stopped Star Wars Detours, the Robot Chicken sort of thing that they were working on. They're stopping the Clone Wars. I've just read this week that LucasArts potentially is in danger of either cutting way back or even shutting down because they were working on a big Star Wars video game. It seems like they're really focusing all their Star Wars efforts into one place at this point to really unite all of it under the hopes that Episode 7 is going to be one of the biggest films ever. So as far as the 3D re-releases of Star Wars, they're not really looking for those at the moment. They want to focus on what is new and forthcoming. Drew writes in with actually an image from the latest issue, a comic of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. I previously mentioned that there are some Disney fans over there writing for that comic, and Drew points out some additional Haunted Mansion references in the current edition. He circled them. For those of you watching the video version, you can see the graphic, and there are some little portraits in the corner of this sort of like crazy upside-down, sideways staircase room, which that unto itself looks very Haunted Mansion-y, also a little bit of a MC Escher reference there, but the portraits very much resemble the changing portraits from the Haunted Mansion, of course, changed into having a little My Little Pony on one of them instead of the horse. So there you go, a little bit of pony fun for you pony fans out there. Thanks, Drew. Now let's go over to a voice message from Scott.
Hi, Ricky. Lonesome Scotty here. I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you go on the Tomorrowland Transit Authority and you go through Space Mountain, as you come out of Space Mountain, you see one of the big structures, that holds the whole thing up. It's one of the first things that, appears as you come onto the dark. Well, one of them is, paint is just falling off it, and it looks terrible. And I don't know if you've noticed this or reported on it before, and I don't know if there's any reason for me to report on it, but I just thought that looked really terrible, and kind of with the state of Disney or the Magic Kingdom right now, you'd think something like that wouldn't be so blatantly in your face, but it was just kind of an eyesore, and I just was wondering if maybe you could keep an update on if that ever gets fixed or not. All right, thanks a lot. Love the show. Lonesome Scotty here. Take care.
Well, thanks for that message, Scotty. I called you Scott, but I guess Scotty works too. There's bound to be some paint issues around the parks. I know it's sort of one of those sticking things that people always point to as, the fanboys out there worry about paint peeling in the parks. And most of those times when those are pointed out, it's this tiny little crack in a corner somewhere, and nobody should really care so much about that because it'll get fixed. But I do know what you're talking about specifically. And yes, for some reason that area around the TTA/Space Mountain kind of interchange, if you will, there's some old paint there. In fact, it seems like it's from 3 Tomorrowland versions ago, as if that for some reason is locked in time and they never get to that area. I don't know if it's because there's Space Mountain and the TTA and kind of the railroad all in that same place, and they would have to do some sort of major shutdown of those 3 attractions, or at least 2 of them, in order to get at that area to repaint. I'm just speculating completely, but maybe it's just one of those things that they want to hang on to a piece of Disney history and watch it crumble away. I really don't know, but yes, I actually do know what you're talking about over there. I have noticed it, coming in and out of there, and it is a little bit odd that paint, out of everything that looked perfectly fresh, which is 99% of the parks, there's that one little area that just seems that way. So I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it for you. Next up, an email from Patrick, who writes, I'm sure both you and the listeners know that Big Thunder Mountain Railroad queue is undergoing changes and new interactive elements are being added. I did not know it at the time, but I met Imagineer Pete Carcillo, I think the lead Imagineer of the new queue. He was busy looking over the new additions in the mine ventilation area. I saw him with another cast member holding a clipboard, his blue name badge. Of course, he was part of the installation team. I asked, "Are you an Imagineer?" And I put down my camera and offered my hand. He shook my hand and proceeded to show me the Auto Canary machine. You turn a little crank wheel, a door's open, and you see something. I don't want to ruin the surprise. I took many pictures of the new queue, which was unfinished at the time, but I did not take pictures. The little surprise that you get to see, I thought it would be rude to even ask, since Pete was being so nice to talk to me for a minute and let me see the ventilation area. When I got home from vacation, I looked him up, and sure enough, a video of Pete Carcillo and others came up. Anyway, so Patrick, it is always good to run into Imagineers working actively on a project when you're in the parks, and they are out there. They're very willing to talk and chat with fans. They're always very, very nice. Just like you said, extend your hand, give them a handshake, and talk about how much you're enjoying what they're doing or curious about it, etc., etc. I actually have not had a chance to go over to the Big Thunder Mountain interactive queue yet. I think everything is up and running at this point, and I definitely plan on going over there very, very soon. I've heard a lot of really good things about what has been installed there, so I am looking forward to it. Of course, Pete Carcillo, the name may be familiar to some of you out there. He worked on the Haunted Mansion interactive queue. He's big into that sort of project, seems to be moving from queue to queue, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we hear his name. A couple more emails and then we'll wrap this up. Nate writes in and says, with the addition of Disney Springs, I was thinking of what shop I would like to see there. And with the addition of Marvel Comics in the Disney company, why not sell comic books? If you think about it, little kids getting into reading and something for the kids to do when leaving to go for home, like reading a few comics on the plane or the car ride home. Parents are happy that the kids are quiet, and kids are happy with the superheroes. Nate, I like the idea. They actually do sell comics over in Once Upon a Toy currently. It's a kind of a small section over to the side that's gotten a little bit bigger since the Marvel acquisition. And there's a rumored list of sort of potential businesses that Disney would be looking at to put into Disney Springs, and Marvel is one of those names. I really would not be surprised at all if a Marvel shop of some sort opened up at Disney Springs. That would be kind of a good opportunity for Disney to put Marvel at Walt Disney World without sort of violating that agreement with Universal. It's not really in a theme park. It's not going to have the characters. It's just a store, but it brings that Marvel brand into Walt Disney World in potentially a big way. Travis writes in, says, "Hey Ricky, first a great year-end podcast. Thanks for your dedication to your podcast and making your fans for making a great podcast. And now my questions. Having gone to Disney recently, bummed that I missed out on the Long Lost Friends days. My son's favorite character is the Big Bad Wolf. So we would have loved to see him. Met him. Anyway, now to my question. Why doesn't Disney do a part in the park where they'd set up a Long Lost Friends meet and greet? Maybe for a week they could have the Big Bad Wolf, maybe Darkwing Duck the next week, Robin Hood the following, etc. This way, while rare, it still gives fans the opportunity to meet them. My next question is about the Marvel-Disney merger. I don't know if I missed it, but is there Marvel merchandise in the park now? I know there was some sort of contract stipulation with Marvel and Universal. My question about this is if you've heard any amalgam of figures of Disney and Marvel characters like Star Wars Disney characters. Myself and son are big fans of the Star Wars Disney characters, but would be even bigger fans of Marvel Disney ones. Travis, really great questions there. First, I love the idea of sort of a rotating cast of long lost friends throughout the year. I think Town Square Theater would be a wonderful place to do that in the Magic Kingdom. The princesses, of course, are going to move out of there once the Fairy Tale Hall opens up, whenever that happens, this year sometime, over in the new Fantasyland area, and at that time they're going to have a hole in Town Square Theater, and I would love to see them do something like that, and maybe even introduce some new characters. I'd love to see Oswald find his way into there, but I don't know. We'll see. As far as Marvel and Disney, I just talked about that a little bit in response to Nate's question. Marvel merchandise is definitely in the Disney stores, in the malls. There's Marvel merchandise around downtown Disney. In the parks, not so much. It's definitely some shady sort of gray areas that involved in the agreement with Universal that Disney's really not supposed to put Marvel in their theme parks. As far as that crossover, I completely agree. If anybody who's a fan of those Star Wars Disney characters where, it's Mickey Jedi and Goofy Darth Vader and that kind of thing, certainly combining the Disney characters with the Marvel universe would be a lot of fun. I can certainly imagine, Donald Duck as Spider-Man or whatever. So good ideas, but I have not heard anything like that planned. And we'll do one more email here and then wrap it up. Lindsay writes in and said, just want to say thanks for all the awesome podcasts. I've been listening for the past few years, and it definitely allows me to geek out on Disney. We're currently saving up for a Walt Disney World trip, which will be my husband and daughter's first visit to a Disney park. We actually have extra motivation to get there soon, as we've decided that our daughter's first haircut will be at Disney World at the barbershop. And I have a random question that I wanted to ask. And that is, if you could have a new land built at Disney World or an expand on existing land, what would it be? And what would it be? Its e-ticket ride. That is quite the open-ended question there. For me, the answer is that immediately comes to mind is kind of going along with what's going on in Hong Kong right now. I love this concept of Mystic Point and Mystic Manor that they're building. Of course, I'm a big Haunted Mansion fan, and I would love to see more of that feeling show up in the parks here. Of course, there's the Haunted Mansion and there's Tower of Terror, very much in the same sort of spooky feeling. I really wish there would be a little bit more of that, especially around Halloween time, obviously with celebrations, but even all the time, just sort of a land that fits that motif, a whole spooky land that really follows. It's still a very family-friendly area, but, sort of harkening back to Alien Encounter, which maybe that wasn't entirely family-friendly. Certainly younger kids were very scared at that, but I think that has a place somewhere. Maybe it's not the Magic Kingdom. Maybe it's Hollywood Studios have a wing devoted to the spookier side of movie making and, go in that direction. That is personally what I would love to see. I think Disney, like no other company, can really do spooky the best when they want to because they can make it accessible to all ages, but still have sort of those thrills and chills that they can put into you, but also couple it with comedy and fun. So that is my answer. I don't, I'm sure I could go on and on about my own at-home imagineering of ideas that I would have, but that's the direction that I personally would like to see, more so than, just basing things off of movies and basing things off of other parks and just kind of bringing in existing attractions, Cars Land coming over here, et cetera, et cetera. Don't necessarily need that. I like Disney's original park ideas that aren't really based on any other intellectual property out there, that they just exist only in one place, in one park. I'm not even saying directly bring Mystic Point or Mystic Manor over from Hong Kong, because that's very cool that it exists only in Hong Kong. It's opening up pretty soon, just a couple of months from now, and I would love to go over there and see that. Something along those lines is really what I'd like to see out here for me. So that is it for listener feedback this week.